That report from Mike Salort in Moscow. All sorts of remedies are needed. For example, Rotary Australia has arranged for 2 leading Soviet doctors and a lawyer to spend 6 months study leave here, learning new skills to take home. Dr. Ілля Ємец, a leading cardiovascular surgeon from Kiev, is one of the visiting doctors. He's with me in the studio, and so too is Rotarian Jack Olsen. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Jack, you travelled to the Soviet Union last year.
Yes.
And how did you come across Dr. Ємец and his colleagues and decide to bring them back to Australia?
Well, when my 4-man committee arrived in Kiev, we were determined to look at the highest priority needs in that community. And after 2 days' discussions with the Committee of Youth Organisations, it was fairly obvious to us that there were quite a range of high priority needs, and we selected the medical one and the legal one. The medical one because it was obvious to us that there was a high priority for cardiovascular surgery experience in procedures and practice, and we had an idea that we could compete with that in Australia. And in the legal field, we felt that with the movement into the market economy, we could help the lawyer. And so after 2 days' discussions, it was fairly obvious that we could select 2 very highly experienced doctors. One was Dr. Ємец, who was introduced to us as an eminent cardiovascular surgeon, very highly regarded and very highly qualified. And we selected him because we knew that his experience would be useful to not only receive the training in Australia, but to go back and pass it on to his own colleagues.
Dr. Ємец, you've just completed 6 months at the Camperdown Children's Hospital in Sydney. What were the most vital things that you learned?
I worked in Camperdown Children's Hospital under Professor Cartmel. He's wonderful pediatric cardio surgeon. And for surgeon, very important have opportunity assisted on operation. And in Camperdown Children's Hospital, in this period was 96 heart operations, and I assisted Professor Cartmel and other surgeons. And I think that most important for me and for my patients in future, transfer my experience in Camperdown Children's Hospital to hospital where I worked in Kiev City.
I understand that you learned to do operations in tiny babies under 12 months old that before the 6 months you couldn't do in Kiev.
Yes, unfortunately I worked for main Ukrainian cardiovascular hospital in Kiev City, and we operate about 4,000 operations each year. But unfortunately we now operate children's under 12 months. It's a very new field of medicine, and open heart operations for children under 12 months is very difficult and very new field. But in future, when we return in Kiev, I hope that we will start operate children under 12 months.
And you'll be able to teach these new techniques to your colleagues?
Yes, sure. I will transfer my experience in Australian experience to Ukrainian experience, and I will teach my assistants and other doctors from my hospital.
Yeah, so in fact it's all turned out to be a very, very worthwhile project. What about the other doctor, Jack, who was here as well? He was an anaesthetist.
Anaesthetist Andrew Monsieur accompanied Ілля as an anaesthetist, and he's been working at the Camperdown Hospital under Dr. Hawkins. And he's had a very successful time too. He had he was deemed to be an eminent anaesthetist in his own right too, although he's only very young.
And the lawyer?
The lawyer is Dr. Kubko, who is, by the way, the youngest professor of law in the Ukraine. He's been working with Mallison, Stevens and Jakes for the last 6 months and has gained tremendous knowledge and experience from that source.
Dr. Ємец, when you do go home, will you have the required equipment and facilities to carry out these operations?
I think that we have not enough equipment in this field because this is a very new field of medicine. For example, equipment for intensive care unit after these operations is very new, and I see that in Camperdown Hospital is a little better than in hospital in Kyiv City.
What about generally the condition of the hospital that you work in? How many, for example, how many intensive care beds do you have?
In my hospital we have 8 beds for youngest children, and we have 4 or 6 beds for oldest children with congenital heart disease after operation.
And do people come to you for operations just from the Kiev region or from all over the Soviet Union?
No, we operate from other republics and from Russia too. I think our hospital have a very good reputation.
Jack, just going back to my earlier question to you, I mentioned you travelled to the Soviet Union at the beginning of the interview. That story that we just showed, how do the hospitals you saw compare with that film?
Well, one of the hospitals that we visited in Moscow is Moscow State Hospital number 31, which I understand is one of the larger hospitals. It certainly appeared to me as a non-doctor as being desperately short of equipment. Mainly we visited a number of wards there that had no trolleys for wheeling the sick and maimed about, and it certainly needed tremendous support in that area. Medicines are short, and we understand that, of course, that the standard of medical care in the general hospital is okay, but when it comes to the highly specialised areas, that's where they fall down, because in no way can they afford modern equipment because of the shortage of the hard currency.
Well, your project seems to be enormously successful. Is there any hope of continuing it?
Yes, well, we've been very much encouraged by people from all walks of life, right throughout Australia, I might say, including members of the Ukrainian community who have also volunteered to sponsor 2 further cardiovascular surgeons to the hospital, which we're delighted to hear, and I feel sure that there'll be a continuing program.
And Dr. Ємец, you're on the way home now. After 6 months away from your family, I bet you're looking forward to that.
Yes, my homesick is very, very big, but in 1 week I will return my family to my wife.
And your family will look forward to seeing you too, I'm sure. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with us on 11 a.m. today.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Ємец and Jack Olsen from Rotary. We'll be back with more after this break.
Свої лати там.